When DK64 came out in 1999, the game was critically acclaimed, with most outlets being impressed with Rare's latest adventure. A decade and a half later, everyone hates it. Okay, that's an exaggeration, but there was quite the narrative flip on the yellow cartridge. There was this revulsion that sprouted with modern opinions on the game. To be frank, most of the criticism is fair, and I can definitely see where you're coming from if you don't like it. At the same time, it's kind of turned into a meme at this point. Like, worst case scenario, this would be an average 64 game, but the reputation has outgrown the criticism. There was a 2013 Polygon interview with the developer behind A Hat in Time, and he had this to say about the game in relation to the decline of the genre. Quote, "I don't want to blame it all on Donkey Kong 64, but it's partially at fault. From there, the idea that DK killed a genre spread like wildfire. That's the funny thing about the internet. A dev makes a small claim, Press A gets a little saucy with a thumbnail, and then Ukulele's Kickstarter jokes that they had a stern talking to the DK64 collectibles guy, like they needed to apologize. I'm not trying to bust anyone's chops here, but the claim or idea that Donkey Kong 64 killed the 3D platforming genre is not true in any way, shape, or form. Let's go back to the tail end of the 90s. The game was critically praised at the time. Defunct Games did a good job summarizing the opinion of prominent magazines at the time. There was some concern of the genre getting stale or the price tag being high, but it picked up a bunch of 8 or 9 ratings. That matches the opinion of websites at the time as well. Besides having almost universal critical acclaim, it was also quite the system seller. Everyone seemed to be enjoying it more or less, so there wasn't some sort of red alert signal for the genre. It became the 7th best-selling game on the system, trailing very close behind Super Smash Bros. And Pokemon Stadium. That's not bad company. Nintendo went hard with the marketing and the system bundle, which showed a lot of confidence in the game internally. They would publish Banjo-Tooie and Super Mario Sunshine shortly thereafter. We would see a slowdown from Nintendo's platforming output into the GameCube generation, but that's mostly because Nintendo lost their partnership with Rare. When Microsoft acquired them, Nintendo didn't have the cash to go find another acclaimed 3D platforming developer. If they had that kind of money, they would probably have spent it on Rare. They also didn't feel a ton of pressure on their system because they started getting Sonic games. Sega even made a new IP for the system. Knuckles hatches out of an egg in it. That's real. Wario helped pick up the slack as well, while Donkey Kong saw a very experimental set of entries for the system. While the GameCube had a solid core of the genre, platformers were really seeing their next evolution on the PlayStation. Spyro and Crash parted ways with their original developers, but they still got a bunch of entries in this generation. In addition to that, we got Jak and Daxter, Ratchet & Clank, and Sly Cooper. They all performed well, putting their own sauce on the formula thanks to advancing technologies of the newer systems. Ratchet has Mario 64 inspired movement, but takes combat and level progression in a totally different direction. Jak and Daxter definitely feels as though it's cut from the same cloth as those famous 64 platformers like Mario, Banjo, and DK, but it did some genre blending after the first entry thanks to the surging popularity of games like GTA. Sly Cooper went from a linear structure in the first game to a sandbox heist in the second. The third game in the trilogy had more playable characters than DK64 itself did. If you like 3D platformers and haven't tried these out, go resolve that. You're really missing out. For whatever reason, Rare didn't do too much with the genre besides the Conker remake, choosing to hop around to a bunch of wildly different projects. Xbox did get Psychonauts and Blinks the Time Sweeper though. I didn't play these, but Pac-Man joined the platforming craze along with Frogger. You had those AA games like Tak and the Power of Juju or KO the Kangaroo, and platforming remained the genre of choice for a lot of cartoon and movie tie-ins. I could go on, but you get my point. If DK was the beginning of the end, no one seemed to get the memo. The genre would slow down in the PS3 generation, but that was way after DK and had nothing to do with collectible spreadsheets. With another jump in technology, the types of games consoles could realize multiplied. Naughty Dog wanted to try and make a game that felt like a movie. Online became a huge deal, and companies chased those new ideas for a while. There was also a retro wave started by New Super Mario Bros. So while you might have expected Rayman or Donkey Kong to stay in 3D, they had classic-styled offerings instead. Even so, there are some bangers like Tearaway and Mario 3D World in this era. By the time A Hat in Time came out, the genre didn't really need to be revived. It never really left. Gaming just got a lot wider since 1999. So why did Donkey Kong get all the blame? I think the flaws in DK64 are very surface level. The game wears them like a badge of honor. The collectibles are color-coded, the character roster is thick. Switching between them and commuting to the objective can be draining. Those are flaws of the game. White Pointer Gaming did a whole deep dive on this if you're curious about it, but the long and short of it is that you're not actually collecting 500 bananas in each stage. Bunches are one collectible that's worth 5 bananas and balloons are worth 10. Once you account for that, the total number of collectibles lands at around 1,500, far from the 3,800 number quoted in lots of different magazines and YouTube videos. And that final number from White Pointer Gaming is assuming that you actually get every type of banana in the whole game. To get 101%, you only have to reach a count of 75 with each Kong in each level, so that number could be sliced by 25%. You can grab the rest of those bananas, like nobody's stopping you, but you don't have to get to 101%. They intentionally leave some extra there so that you don't have to go through the pain that you're putting yourself through. 1500 is also a large number, but Mario 64 is sitting at around 1300 itself for its 100%. Like DK, the vast bulk of collectibles Mario needs to get are the 100 coin missions. Unlike DK, you have to get them all in one run. There's no cumulative progress made between missions. In certain circumstances, it's more annoying to collect things in Mario, especially considering a lot of these coins can fly off a ledge or disappear while you're trying to grab them. Mario has the same backtracking issue as well, warping you back to the beginning of the level every time you gain a star. The key difference probably lies in the presentation. It's way easier to see DK's faults at a glance because they're all organized and color-coded for you, with counters prominently displayed on all the menus. You're not going to find out collecting stuff in Mario games can be annoying too until you start going for the 100 coin missions and fall off a rainbow road with 90 of them in your pocket. The game doesn't even advertise these stars on the level select screen. It's a bonus challenge of sorts. Likewise, you don't find out about the wackiness of the 100% journey of Mario Sunshine until you go for the blue coins. The purple comet star is the most boring part of Mario Galaxy. At a certain point, you realize that going for the 100% is supposed to be an optional bonus rather than what you base your take of the game on. Is Donkey Kong worse or more annoying than the other examples I gave? There's a discussion to be had there. Is it a problem so unique to Donkey Kong that it sank the entire foundation of the genre? Not at all. I played through all of these games in 2020 and they all have varying degrees of annoying things going on at their lowest points. In all these playthroughs, there were moments in the 100% journey where I paused to reevaluate my life choices. I had way more fun with Sunshine before I started losing my mind chasing blue coins and pachinko machines. DK64 would sound more enjoyable if I skipped Beaver Bother. I give really careful thought to the games that I 100% these days because I would probably have a higher opinion of all three games if I kept what I liked and skipped the rest. You only need about half of the 1500 collectibles to roll the credits. It's an interesting thought with games like this. I liked Mario Galaxy a lot more before I started collecting the last 20 stars or so. I didn't find the comet missions to be nearly as interesting as the rest of the game up until then. If I'm critically evaluating it, does it depress the overall experience? Or is it some decent extra optional content that I should take or leave? It's a thought I'm having while I'm waiting on my NSO controller to ship. Okay, so the controller got in and I'm doing a very casual run of the game on NSO. I'm not going for 101% to join the discourse. I'm not trying to do a stream. I'm just having a good time. I'm finding it hard to put DK64 down and I am shocked. I've never been huge on this game. I'm not really a big N64 guy in general. This should be the system I'm nostalgia blind for, but besides Star Fox, I don't really come back to this often. The last time I played Mario and DK64 around 6 years ago, I felt like the games were slow, clunky, and frustrating to go back to considering the improvements mankind has made to camera systems in particular. I felt like the games became a slog at a certain point, with a lot of arduous missions to convince a dinosaur to meet me on a roof or see 101% on a screen. This time though, I just wanted to go in with a little more patience for the time period the game was made in, and not force myself to go for every single collectible. I wanted to meet the goals the game put in front of me to roll the credits. 70 stars for Mario, 100 golden bananas for DK64. I learned two big things. Number 1, having a working 64 controller that hasn't been ground to dust makes these games handle way better. The feel of the wacky N64 joystick was tailor-made for this experience. I could really feel the full range of the movement options available to the characters. 2, man, these games are way more fun this way. I didn't plan on beating either of them for this video, but I ended up beating them both because I was just having a good time. When I cleared the games, I came out with a much more positive opinion of them as opposed to my previous playthroughs. I realized that I've been holding these collecting platformers to a way higher standard than I do for other genres. I think the general online discussion does as well. Breath of the Wild is one of the most critically acclaimed games of all time, and I had quite a lot of fun with it myself. While there's some people who complain about how much of a slog the 100% run can be, I've never seen it dominate the game's identity online like it might for Mario or Donkey Kong. I think the truth is that you're only supposed to go for the Platinum Trophy or 100% if you're really enjoying the game. That's why there's so much variability to how you can roll credits in more open games in Nintendo's library. Speaking of Zelda, they don't even tell you that there's a percentage until you've rolled the credits. I'm 14% of the way there, and you know what? I'm happy and done with the game. I love that I could have beaten the game at any time if I wanted to. For my brother, that was clearing all 120 shrines, but I went and finished the game after clearing like 70 of them. For the crazy Zelda people, I'm glad they got to farm dragon scales and go find all the Korok seeds. Good for them. The seeds, heart containers, golden bananas, and moons are designed to give the player more expression over their progression path. Sure, they gate off certain experiences, but that's to make sure that the player is ready for the next challenge the game is going to throw at them. That was the design of Mario 64. They didn't make the entrance to Bowser 70 stars because they thought the other 50 were boring or padding. It gives you agency in how you want to tackle the game. And if you want to get the rest, go for it. But just so you understand how much of a bonus content type of thing this is, what do you get at the end of a 100% run in a Nintendo game? Well, for Zelda, if you go through the trouble of scouring this gigantic world for over 100 hours, they give you a little poop. DK Bonanza? Look at that. Funny monkey balloon. It's a little wink and nod. A well done lad from the developers. So how do we look at the extra 800 Korok seeds most people don't find? Or the blue coins in Mario Sunshine? Or the other half of the golden bananas? It's really in the eye of the beholder. These could be described as bonus content, needless padding, or well-designed missions depending on who's playing. I think people who 100% Breath of the Wild are freaks. But here I am with over 100 hours dumped into Emerald Rush. I think it kind of depends on your taste. That's the silver lining. DK64 is packed with a million different things to collect for the people who want to collect them. During my run, I was surprised at how easy it was to clear the game. The design issues with the tag barrel system nipped at my toes at times, but it was a very breezy run for the most part. I could open most boss doors without even thinking about collecting bananas. The medals you need for the rare coin will rack up in the background as you hit other objectives. The blueprints are hard to miss and they come bundled with a golden banana, making that 100 total way easier to grab. Like, don't get me wrong, there are a bunch of things I would change if I could, but the overall experience is quite nice. It occupies this strange space in the middle of Mario and Zelda, with a lot of DK's levels feeling more like a dungeon than a sandbox. I found some satisfaction in planning future routes with other characters as I saw trails of other bananas. When I felt like I had my fill of a level, I jumped to the next one. If there was a challenge or minigame I didn't enjoy, I went elsewhere. By the time I was entering the 6th level, I already had everything I needed to get to K. Rool besides the rest of the bosses. This game has its issues, but I feel like game discussion is warped into this hot or cold magnum opus or trash dichotomy. In the end, I liken DK64 to Mario Sunshine. They're both games that have high highs and low lows. They're brimming with charm and character though. While they're probably not as good as something like Mario 64 or Banjo-Kazooie overall, they're not terrible either. Now that DK64 is on NSO, it's actually accessible and you can make up your own mind about it. If you still think the game is dog water, that's fine, but let's elevate our critique. Dig a layer deeper as to why. There's a more nuanced and interesting discussion to have around why you might find DK's collectibles annoying while not minding the 100 coin Mario 64 missions. Is Mario's movement so fun that you don't mind retreading the same paths? Does the sight of collectibles you can't collect grind your gears? There are a lot of diverting creative choices these games made from each other. DK is vast and complex compared to Mario's targeted simplicity. I personally feel like DK flew a little bit too close to the sun, but I also think Mario 64 is a little overrated. I'll cover DK64 more extensively at some point, but I've wanted to make this video for a few years now, so I thought I'd throw it out alongside the NSO release to celebrate our boy coming back to a system that you could play it on without any weird bugs. There's no weird bugs in it, right? In the meantime, I did a deep dive into the creation and lasting cultural impact of the DK rap. Check that out next.